what we are expecting this year is that the APEC region grows at 3.5%. And this is, I would say, kind of a stable growth rate, and this is thanks to a recovery in private consumption in relation to last year. Also, inflation has been lowered down thanks to quick action by monetary authorities, and also because energy prices have moderated, and that has helped to control inflation. Growth, we think, for the next few years could be sustained if governments implement structural reforms and find ways to use innovative technologies in an efficient way. But I think we also need to be vigilant because we are facing some headwinds, in particular, rising protectionism. Also, we are facing some uncertainties in global supply chains, and geopolitical tensions, of course, affect the economy. That's something that we have to acknowledge. So you can see here at the graph at the right side how inflation has been going down in the last 2 years. And this in part highlights the success of monetary policies aiming to stabilize prices. We can see that policy rates or interest rates in the majority of APEC members is starting to adjust downwards. Inflation is low, so therefore the rates are adjusting downwards. But as it happens, I think we have to monitor other indicators like the exchange rate, and I think authorities need to make sure that they can manage exchange rate volatility and preserve stability. So we can see that as policy rates are going down, more APEC economies are experiencing an appreciation of their domestic currencies vis-a-vis the US dollar in comparison to a year ago. As for prices, I mentioned earlier that there was a moderation of energy prices. We can see here the prices of crude oil. So we have seen those prices going down in recent months, and in part this is due to the increase of oil production in non-OPEC plus producers. But I would say the oil market still remains fragile, so future oil prices could be influenced by a number of factors. For example, oil inventories, future economic prospects at the global level, and also geopolitical developments. In the case of food prices, we can see that despite recent increases in the price of dairy products and vegetable oil, food prices now are lower than a year ago, and this is explained because cereal prices are much lower in comparison to a year ago. There has been a good harvest season, good weather conditions for to produce cereals, and so you can see now that the average food prices now are lower than food prices a year ago. What's going on with trade? So as for merchandise trade, APEC trade expanded in the first half of 2024. This is compared to last year. And the improved trade performance reflects in part a boost in consumption due to lower inflation. And also, there has been a gradual reduction in interest rates that provides more favorable terms to trade finance. In terms of commercial services, we can see that data for services trade in the first half shows that trade of commercial services remains strong, in particular related to travel. As for the trade outlook, the forecast shows on uneven trajectories across APEC members. But I would say next year, in the absence of negative shocks, we are expecting trade volume by APEC economies to increase collectively by 4.4%. And here, I think we have to monitor future developments because trade activity could be affected by an increase of protectionist measures, geopolitical tensions, and also growth prospects. You can see here how the number of trade restrictive measures in force in APEC have been increasing every year. And same is happening with the use of trade remedies. So you can see that those two types of measures both are exceeding the number of trade facilitating measures in place. One of the main concerns that we have is related on uncertainties in supply chains. You can see the graph at the left side shows how the number of vessels transiting through the Suez Canal have fallen in more than half compared to a year ago. The dotted line is the value of transit a year ago through the Suez Canal. The full red line is the current values, and so it has fallen more than half. In the case of the Panama Canal, those are the dotted and the full orange lines. We notice a recovery of transit through this Panama Canal because it's raining more, so it's possible to bring more vessels through the Panama Canal. But the problem in the Suez Canal is a matter of serious concern. Why? Because there are a lot of vessels transiting between Asia and Europe, and they cannot use the Suez Canal. They have to go through the Cape of Good Hope. That is increasing time to deliver the goods by 1 to 2 weeks. That's increasing the cost, increases production costs, and of course the consumers, unfortunately, will have to pay more for those goods. We can see that freight costs in recent months, because of subdued demand, has fallen a bit. However, the prices, the freight costs right now are still much higher than freight costs a year ago. We can see the growing uncertainties motivating investors to hedge buying gold and silver to a minor extent. And this is creating a strong increase in gold and silver prices. There's also an increasing demand for copper. And this is because of demand for the semiconductor industry, AI, low emission technologies. But we need to monitor commodity prices because higher prices could exert some upward pressure to production costs. And you can see here also that in most APEC economies, the perception of manufacturing purchasing managers fell in the third quarter due to these ongoing challenges of supply chain disruptions, rising input costs, and fluctuating demand. One of the challenges in terms of sustainability is the demand for electricity from innovative technologies like data centers, AI, cryptocurrencies, and we can see here that the energy consumption related to those industries is expected to more than double in the medium term. And this presents a sustainability challenge. Why is this? Because most of the electricity is still sourced from non-renewable sources. So that's something that we have to keep in mind, and it's important to strike a balance between the advantages of those technologies but also the sustainability issues. Another challenge that we are facing is about aging populations in APEC. So at least one half of the membership is facing rapidly aging populations. So you can see that in 1990, the highest ratio of old age elderly people per working age individuals, it was 19 elderly per 100 working age individuals. That was in 1990. In 2022, most of APEC economies have a ratio ranging between 20 to 51 elderly per 100 working age individuals. So it's very striking, the change. And this has a lot of implications about a decline of the tax base, so it might be harder to provide for public goods and services. There's a labor force shrinkage and also a slower economic growth. There are going to be higher costs in terms of healthcare and pension. So I think governments need to implement some tailored policies in an interim. And finally, something that I wanted to share with you is that the issue of aging population are also expected to exert fiscal pressures, and this could compound the already elevated government debt. So we are expecting the average general government debt in APEC to reach 103% of the GDP this year. And this is expected to reach pandemic response levels by around 110% of the GDP by 2026. And this could continue growing if it's left unaddressed. So I think we need to think about gradual fiscal consolidation to anchor debt sustainability and fortify economic resilience. So what I think we need to focus to do now is a combination of things. So I would focus recommendations on 3 areas. The first one is monetary and fiscal policies. We need to adjust gradually policy rates to support economic growth and focus on fiscal consolidation. The second point is that we need structural reforms to address the demographic shifts, to support green transition, to leverage on digitalization and artificial intelligence, and also to tackle challenges in the labor markets. And the third point is that in APEC, we need to continue strengthening cooperation, and multilateral cooperation is important to address these global challenges, right? So if we have global problems, we need global solutions, and that's why we need to strengthen multilateralism. And we have to implement policies that promote trade and investments toward a balanced growth. So I think it's possible to find ways to keep growth going without implementing protectionist measures.